Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. I hope that you are all well. This is where I talk about the books that I'm reading. I like to read diverse books and I highlight Canadian literature. If you are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. I know the lighting's not great today. It's kind of a blah day out there. But today I'm going to be talking about the Reading Across Canada Challenge. I am going to be giving you some recommendations for May. And yes, I do know that May is over. We're in June, but I'm still catching up. And in the next week, I will be sharing recommendations for June before we get too far into the month. So we will all be on the same page. If you don't know what the Reading Across Canada Challenge is, it is a reading challenge that encourages people to read Canadian literature, to read Canadian authors and writers, Canadian stories. And this year, every month has a specific prompt that you can follow. Some people try to read a book for each province and territory. It's a challenge that you can really do however you want, as long as you're reading CanLit, Canadian literature. So I will leave links below to the playlist, to the introductory video, which has more information, and also to the prompt sheet that has all of the links, or all of the prompts, I guess. So the challenge is also set up on Storygraph, thanks to Just a Bean. Just a Bean Reads, I think it is. So I'm very thankful for that help. So you can check it out there and keep track of the books that you are reading for the challenge as well. So in April, the prompt was to read a book by an author born in another country, now living in Canada. And I ended up doing a reread of Hotline by Dimitri Nasrallah. Dimitri was born in Lebanon and moved around quite a bit before coming to Canada, and now lives in Montreal. The other book that I read that would also fit this prompt is The Peace by Romeo Dallaire, who was born in the Netherlands and also now lives in Montreal. So they're both good books. I talk about Hotline a little in my March and April wrap-up, and I will be talking about The Peace in my May wrap-up. So for May, the prompt is to read a mystery, thriller, or horror book. And I've mentioned several of these already for this challenge, but I'm going to go through kind of each category, I guess, and share them again and maybe add a few new ones as well. So I'm going to start with, I guess these would be thrillers. And first up is Linwood Barclay. I've mentioned him in the past, and I've already talked about his Broken Promise series. And I've also talked about Elevator Pitch. He has several. He has so many. And another one that I'm going to add to the list, and the one that I read for this prompt, is A Noise Downstairs. So the premise of this was really interesting to me. The main character, Paul, had come upon his colleague and discovered that the colleague was trying to bury bodies. There was bodies in his car. So the colleague attempts to kill Paul, but Paul ends up surviving. And now 8 months later, his wife bought him a typewriter, and he can hear strange noises like someone is typing. And then messages begin to appear, and no one else can hear these noises, and he thinks that he might be going crazy. So I will be talking more about this in my June wrap-up, because I just finished it actually on June 1st, which is why it wasn't in my May wrap-up. The next book that I want to recommend is The Listeners by Jordan Tannahill. This also has a main character who can hear things that others can't. The main character hears like a high-pitched sound that no one else seems to hear. The main character becomes alienated from her family, who thinks she might be going insane. She even thinks so herself, until she finds other people who can hear it too. And then those people start to kind of form a community together. So this was a really interesting read. These next books are kind of like thrillers or mysteries with some suspense. First is a book that I've mentioned before that I still need to read myself, and that is The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. This has 3 unsolved crimes, and then all of these crimes link 12 men, and it's a historical fiction, so if you're interested in that genre, then that might be a good one. This next book is also a historical fiction. It's by Gaslight by Stephen Price. It takes place in the 1800s. It's also a ghost story. This was actually supposed to be my pick, but I didn't quite get to it. And then I have to include this little gem. If you're looking for a really quick read, you can read this in one sitting. This might be for you, and it is The Red Chesterfield by Wayne Arthurson. This is quirky and fun, and I loved it. It's about a bylaw officer, and he takes his job very seriously. And when he sees an old Chesterfield, which is a couch, he sees the Chesterfield in a ditch, he also finds a shoe with a foot in it. And this begins a murder investigation. So I think the way that Wayne Arthurson wrote this is genius. Next up, I have several cozy mysteries, I'm going to call them. I've already talked about the Priscilla Tempest mysteries several times. There's Death at the Savoy, Scandal at the Savoy, let's see if I can get it here, and Princess of the Savoy. These are by Ron Bass and Prudence Emery. So these are about Priscilla, who is a Canadian working in the press office at the Savoy in London. And people who are connected to the Savoy get murdered. She, of course, gets involved. She's often a suspect as well. I will leave a link to the conversation that I had with Ron Bass in the description box below if you want to hear more about this and what he has to say about the stories as well. One that I want to get to is I Only Read Murder by Will and Ian Ferguson. This is about an actress who isn't getting any more roles, and she ends up working at a local theater where one of the actors gets murdered. And I think the sequel to this is either already out or is coming out soon. So there's more to this story. There's also Bury the Lead by Kate Hilton and Elizabeth Renzetti. This is on my TBR. This sounds like a murder mystery Hallmark movie to me, where the main character, Kat Conway, leaves her journalist job in the city to go to a small town, and she uncovers all the secrets and murder. And I believe that this is also the first in a series. Next is The Maid by Nita Prose, which I loved because I love the main character, Molly. She's quirky and just really interesting. She works in a hotel and finds a dead body, and much like the other cozy mysteries, she becomes a suspect as well. I thought that this was a lot of fun, and the sequel to this, or the follow-up, is The Mystery Guest, and I'm really looking forward to getting to this one too, which I think follows more adventures of Molly. Moving on to some horror, a book that I have mentioned many times before is Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. Jessica Johns is an Indigenous author, and this is about a young Indigenous woman who is murdered, and her sister starts having dreams, and the dreams become very real, and she is compelled to find out what really happened to her sister. I also have to include the strangely odd but very intriguing book, Bunny by Mona Awad. This begins like a dark academia where everything seems normal until it's really not, and it goes places that I would never have imagined. But what I liked is that this book is saying so much more than just the weird stuff too, and it is why that I really want to read Mona Awad's newest publication, which is Rouge. I haven't picked that up yet, but that one has been described as a Snow White meets Eyes Wide Shut, so that's quite a combo. I also have Ghost Lake by Nathan Neagan Newton Adler. This is a collection of interconnected short stories that I've been waiting on reading this because it is a companion, I think, to his novel called Wrist, which I think I want to read the novel first, but like if you don't care what order you read them, then this would be okay. Wrist sounds very gruesome to me, so I need to be in the mood for something like that, and I'm not sure if these stories follow that as well. Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. I've had a number of people tell me that I will really like this one. In this one, the ghost is the mother-in-law, and this is supposed to be funny and humorous as well. So I hope that that's true, and I really do hope that I end up enjoying it. And then finally, this is an author that I haven't talked about too much on this channel, Andrew Piper. I've read 2 books by him. Lost Girls, which is about a teacher who is accused of killing 2 of his students. And then the one that I liked a little bit more was The Residence, which is about the president of the US in 1800s and something. His son dies, and then he begins to haunt the White House. And I would say that this is more of a psychological, horror. So I know I'm late in getting these out there, but now I can get back on track, and there are a lot of books to choose from if you haven't already done this prompt, which, it's no problem if you read some books at other months as well. And there are some here that will work for June, but I will be putting out a video in the next probably week or so with recommendations for June too, so we'll all be on the same page. So please let me know if you have read any of these. What did you read for May's prompt? Or what would you like to still read for May's prompt? Do you have any suggestions, any recommendations that you think should go on this list? Please let us know. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.